In Donaghadee, where our tale unfolds, a father and son the luthier craft upheld, wi' hands that mind the fiddle's sonsy plink, wi' cunning craft they big the bonny jink. So in this tune, where sea skirts lan, Ulster-Scots traditions firmly stan. Through lang syne bands o' craftsmen's ken, they mak the sang looms lilt and tack again.
I've been motivated to make music for as far back as I can remember, and when I eventually discovered fiddles, I simply needed one. I didn't know where to buy them. What do you do? No money anyway. So what do you do? You make one, of course you do. So I got a book out of the library called Violin Making as It Was and Is by Edward Heron Allen, and I made one. I also got lucky, the first one turned out to be a good one, and here we are, 40 years later. I'm Peter Boardman, I'm a violin maker. I've never known anything else but violin making, and now my son Rory has decided to pick up the challenge and run with it, which is marvellous.
I've been training with my dad to take on his profession since 2018 and hope to spend the rest of my life doing it.
In Donaghadee, we delve into the world of father and son meester luthiers, while skillful hands gave birth to soulful melodies through their meticulous crafted instruments.
When they're young, I always kept them out of the workshop. And I'd say, no, you don't want to do this. Go and get a proper job. And I never saw the day that Rory would come back in and start this. And delighted. I mean, I think it's marvellous. To get to work with your son and to do something as good as this with him is a privilege. This part of the job you're supposed to do on a cold January morning, so you can kind of work up a sweat. This is a piece of County Down sycamore, so it's local to us. Because it's grown locally, it's really too warm and wet here, so this has been a surprise to me to find how nice it is and how nice it sounds in a finished instrument. I suppose the sound is in the wood. All you've got to do is get rid of the bits of that particular piece of wood that you don't need, and then what you're left with is a violin. And the old wisdom used to be that the wisdom is in the tools, and if the tools are right, they will do the job for you.
It's more of an art than a science a lot of the time. So wood is a living thing. Every piece is different. You have to be a bit looser with the way you think. I'll be sitting there working on a scroll. If you're coming to the point where you want to finish it, and the light's dropping and dropping and dropping, and it's sort of over there, sort of Scrabble way, and it's starting to drop below the horizon, I'll find myself walking around the bench and walking towards the door, because you're following the light until it goes, and then you're like, right, I'm done for today.
I think we have an identical product. I mean, I look at Rory's, and I have to do a double take to see, did he make it, did I make it? But that was right from the very first fiddle. The fact that he's picking up my tools and my craft and running with it is a marvellous thing to stand and watch. And I always used to think, well, what will happen to me? Things I've made and things I've sweated over for a lifetime, where will they end up? Will they be sold on eBay? What happens to these things? And they now have a life of their own. They have a life beyond me. And I think that is a fairly unique position for a father to be in.
It's already in me that I know the parts of a violin and what goes into making them. And there's a nice sense of home here for me. From when I'm a very young child, one of my memories is Dad wrapping presents for Mum on the workbench, and he's storing them in here because he can't Mum knows where everything is in the house, whereas this is Dad's place. I grew up in this workshop, basically. It's home. For me to get to this point, it's probably 200 hours of work. In real time, I've probably spent about 2 months working on this instrument. Before I even got to it, the wood has been in this workshop for 10 years. And after I've done this, there's probably about 3 weeks of varnishing in between coats, and then I'll hear it for the first time, which I'm excited about. It's a really bizarre process. So you finish the woodwork and you varnish the violin, you're setting it up and you get the strings out and you cut the bridge and you put the soundpost in and you get it all looking nice and you're polishing it, and all of this time you've been focused on this one instrument. It's basically been your entire life. And then you just take it off the bench, put it over there and start working on another one. It's a really strange feeling that I can't really describe very well.
That's where the musicians come in, because they effectively take over what you've done, and then it's got another life, which is its important life, really. That's its life beyond you. And it's lovely to hand them over to a good player and know that they'll go out there and hopefully do what they're supposed to do for the next 200 years. They don't see that you've got your fingers crossed behind your back, sort of hoping that it'll all turn out good. But I mean, that's the icing on the cake. That it doesn't end when you finish and it's on, but it doesn't end there. It now takes on its new life, and if it works, that's when the magic happens. Job done. Good to go.
Doing this has awakened something that's probably always been in me, like a need to make things. And it's quite a nice feeling to make something and then be able to play it. And I'm not reliant on anyone else to tell me whether what I've made is good or bad. You know straight away.
Violin making is music making by proxy. It's not just woodworking. You need that inbuilt musicality, which he has.
It's not work.
No, that's true. Yeah.
It's not work at all.
Yeah.
Right. There's not one thing in the process that feels like work.
But it's a reason for living, really. You know, I mean, I always worry about people that have ordinary jobs, you know, and they don't really want to do it. They kind of have to do it. But here, it's not a job; it's a way of life.